Charlie McGee's a fire starter, a twisted fire starter. Don't you dare take her dad away, or she will become the fire starter, an angry fire starter, and set you all ablaze. I'm John Renton with the retro review of Firestarter, directed by Mark L. Lester, who did Commando, and movies that were less than good compared to this and Commando. It's unfortunate because that was a pretty good 1-2 punch of movies. I don't know what the fuck happened. But anyway, nevertheless, this was based on the novel by Stephen King. It was called, wait for it, Firestarter. I know, it's fucking shocking that they somehow managed to keep the same fucking title. So simple, so simplistic. If only more adaptations could be like that. This was written by Stanley Mann, who is doing the best that he can. He did write Meteor because why is a moon rock better than Earth rock? Because it's a little bit meteor. Ha 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 ha. Nobody gets that reference though. Nobody knows what animated series that's from. If you do, let me know in the comments, please. And he also wrote Conan the Destroyer. So yeah, he actually had some pretty good credits to his name. You can check them up on IMDb, including a high win in Jamaica back in 1965. I wasn't even alive back then, and I'm older than dirt. So, if you have not seen the 1984 version of Firestarter, the Twisted Firestarter, okay, enough of that. If anybody gets that song reference, please let me know. It's a really, really great song. It's very, very weird. Anyway, Firestarter came out about 38 years ago, and the new one is going to drop very, very soon on the cock and also be in theaters. Now, I don't know how the new one's going to be. I will have a review up of it sometime after this, so you can check that one out. But this has Drew Barrymore in the role that pretty much helped cement her as, you know, being a new child actor and everything. And like the new, like, you know, famous person, like, holy shit, she's going to be really goddamn good. And unfortunately, like a lot of child actors, she had a lot of issues. She has overcome those and has a second life, clean, sober, and having a great film career and TV career. I think even has her own talk show, and that's a credit to her. And so this has got various other people. It's got George C. Scott as most evil. George C. Scott apparently was a nice guy, but just was so fucking great at playing assholes. And he had a hell of a ponytail here. It was like David Carradine-like ponytail, except hopefully George C. Scott did not end up with the same hang-ups that David Carradine had. If you get it, you get it. Had David Keith in it with a lot of hair. Since it was 1984, everybody had hair. I think even bald people managed to have hair somehow because the 80s had hair, shoulder pads, and also lots and lots of cocaine. And we have Freddie Jones in this. That was actually kind of funny. He kind of reminded me, if they couldn't get Sidney Poitier, they got his brother, Charles Poitier. Oh, good one, Charles. We couldn't get your brother. Well, let's get you. So, actually, it's unfair. He's actually a pretty good actor. Heather Locklear had a cameo in this. Martin Sheen, when he had a face and actual hair, was in this. And Art Carney. Art Carney. That's a great character actor right there. So, yeah, if you haven't seen this movie, it's been out for 38 years. I'm going to spoil it. Sorry. Basically, Charlie is the product of Andy and Vicky getting together when they took an experimental drug called, well, it was like a hypnotic, mild hallucinogenic. Yes, because all hallucinogenics are mild. And we find this out after a brief, sort of chase scene where Andy is taking Charlie away because the mother has passed away. Violently, I might add. And he has telekinetic powers. He just holds his head and he does this. He just, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to keep doing this and everything. And oh, my hair, it's weighing me down. Help! That's why I shave my head, folks, because my hair weighs me down and it makes me go mad. In all seriousness, he manages to convince people, to do his bidding. He hands a cab driver a dollar bill and says it's a $500 bill. And the guy being, hypnotized, because biggie, can't you see, sometimes the words just hypnotize me. Boy, that was a weird reference. We find out through a series of flashbacks that basically Vicky and Andy got together. And they fell in love, and then we saw how Charlie's powers develop. We got to see her basically set a military guy's feet ablaze because he was being a dick because he got a girl pregnant and didn't want to take care of her. Guys, if you're going to get a girl pregnant, make sure you take care of her. Seriously, what the actual shit? Everybody make better choices. Make better choices and take care of life if you create it. What the fuck? Don't just be selfish. Stop. Don't do this anymore. Anyway, she sets his feet ablaze and he stuffs them in a toilet. That was kind of funny. All the while, there are these agents from this thing called The Shop that are pursuing them. And they're government agents that drive cars the size of boats that need 3 parking spaces and about 18 tanks of gas now to exist. Seriously, the fucking gas mileage on these cars, and we used to have a couple cars like that back when I was younger, it's astonishing. They got like 2 miles to the gallon. It was fucking phenomenal. So anyway, she gets angry. She doesn't want to set another fire because she doesn't want to, but she has pyrokinesis, pyrokinetic ability. She can set the world on fire, and they can go higher into the sun. So anyway, then basically they're just being pursued by all these people. The synth music kind of gave me a headache. The fashions obviously are dated since this movie came out in 1984. I was 3 fucking years old when it came out. And we see the shop in Virginia, where Martin Sheen once actually had a human face, where it wasn't a west and east and south and north wing. I know that sounds mean, and it is, but nevertheless. George C. Scott, just having a blast. He was having a blast here. He had a weird last, 10 years of his career. The Exorcist 3, with the iconic scare with the garden shears, and I was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to trim your head, ha 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 ha. Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit slappy after watching this, in case you can't tell, but so basically we get people with loud hair, loud suits, loud cars, just yelling at each other. Crap, we got to get this little girl. We got to do something about this. And then Irv, played by Art Carney, and his wife, they take them onto the farm and everything. We got to help. We got to help. We got to help them out. Why? Why the fuck not? This is like what Brightburn wanted to be. Brightburn wanted to be like the first Firestarter or Twisted Firestarter, but Brightburn only ended up being pretty good and didn't fully lean into its concept. This did because, well, Charlie was like, you're not going to take my dad. You're not going to do this. I'm going to set your car ablaze. I'm going to set your car ablaze. I'm going to set your ass on fire and you on fire and you on fire. Everybody's going to die because that kid wants to protect her dad. And also, you don't piss off somebody that can set shit on fire. So anyway, George C. Scott then goes on a rampage. I think the original subtitle for this was George C. Scott Kills and Kills Again. He kills a lot. He kills a lot of people. Kills a mail truck driver at one point, because why the fuck not? He ends up tranking both Andy and Charlie after they get to their grandfather's seemingly, river house, where I assume Barracudas, not copies of the movie Barracuda, which was shit, invaded his house. Now, on a houseboat, the house on the river and the house down by the river, what am I on about? It's like the Night House with no budget. They end up getting tranquilized. So then they get taken. And there were giant beekeepers that just popped out of the forest. And then they get captured and they're taken to the shop. And basically they're experimenting on, they're drugging Andy and they're experimenting on Charlie and John Rainbird, a.k.a. George C. Scott, a.k.a. the man with the ponytail that wasn't David Carradine because no hang-ups were happening. Used that joke already. Let's move on. She basically he makes friends with her. And over time, he's like, I'm going to basically end up, killing her, but I'm basically going to find a way to harness her power. I'm going to find a way to kill. He just wants to kill. That's really all he wants to do. His motives are not clear besides killing. So anyway, they also do horse riding lessons. Horses factor in a little bit later. Actually, they just walk horses. I don't think we saw a horse rode in this movie. Maybe the budget couldn't afford that. Maybe the horse was like, no, not without a check and my agent approving it. And a horse having an agent. We are in trouble if the horses start getting agents. Oh no, it's the horse apocalypse right here. The 4 horses of the apocalypse. Don't even need horsemen. So in all seriousness, Martin Sheen's character decides to send Andy to the shop compound in Maui. And then because Andy was able to stop doing his drugs after his daughter had set wood chips and a brick wall on fire, because why the fuck wouldn't you, cementing her legacy, no concrete evidence that the government could find, he is able to use his mindfuck powers to convince the captain, hey, you're going to take me and my daughter there and everything, and you're going to do this. Meanwhile, John is trying to befriend, or continuing to befriend Charlie, and I think she was playing the E.T. video game, the Atari video game. This was 1984, by the way, after Atari had basically collapsed. Atari basically helped collapse the Western game industry until there was a Nintendo Entertainment System, and we got fooled into buying that. So they end up in a barn. George C. Scott ends up shooting Andy. And that pisses off Charlie, who says, okay, I'm just going to set everything ablaze here. She ends up setting the horses free and ends up setting everybody on fire. She launches fireballs, she launches cannonballs, she launches yoga fire, yoga flames. Dalsim from Street Fighter would be so happy to see that if he was a real character. I mean, he was sort of in a movie, but this is in a movie too. This is weird. She just sets everything on fire. It's fucking phenomenal. It's great. It's like the ending of Carrie on fucking steroids. And just sets George C. Scott on fire. That was fucking great before she does all that. Was one funny moment before she did that. Andy, just before he got shot, did this, I got the headache, and make some jump, and then he jumps, and he's like, what? That was funny to me. And Andy says just before Charlie does the thing, burn them all, burn it down. God damn you, Seth Rollins. Even in 1984, you were doing this. I don't even think Seth Rollins was alive in 1984. And non-wrestling fans have no fucking idea who Seth Rollins is. So she blows everything up. Blows the compound, blows everything up. Goes back to the farm. And because her dad wanted to tell the story to the papers, because he'll go to the papers if he has to, nobody gets that reference as well. I do so many obscure references. She goes with Irv, a.k.a. Art Carney. And they're going to tell the story. And then that's it. It's fucking great just to watch her set everything ablaze. It's really great. They blew the goddamn budget, literally, there. They're like, okay, we have this budget. Let's just throw all this pyrotechnics, everything. Just flash fry everybody. And it's fucking great. It's not a fantastic movie, but it's one of the best Stephen King adaptations, which isn't a high bar because a lot of the adaptations have been kind of shit. There was Christine the year before this. Like I said, Firestarter was a better adaptation. That Christine was fine. I probably should rewatch that at some point to see if any of it holds up. And it really didn't the last time I watched it. But this, pretty goddamn good. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.